I'm going to go a little different direction in this video thanks to a comment that I got on a recent post. I really focus on the template and trying to understand it and what it's getting to and trying to find new parts to it. And I think I get stuck in there. But sometimes something like this will happen and it sets me another direction. There's a lot to this. There's a lot in the background happening. And there's a lot of reasons why this works, or that we can speculate why it works. And this comment, it led right exactly to kind of heading that direction for this video. So the comment is actually on, it was part 4, my video, Enuma Elish Genesis, Comparative Template Analysis. And I'll post a link to that below. But I talked in there about the field that we all exist within, that there seems to be this unified field, that everything functions within and that we are within that, and that we have experiences within that. I don't go into a lot of detail on that very much in my videos. But Project Malice here left a comment, very interesting, thanks. I wonder if Lahmu and Lahamu, as first gods, were the two natures of birds, solitary and flocking, but also related to human grouping and the power from that, both physical and mental. And it goes on a bit further, and I love that line of thinking. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into it. What do we talk about? The flocking, the Lahmu, the Lahamu, all of that was right in that region right there that we were talking about, how the material might overlap into what that is. And I don't think that they do fit, but let's talk about that. I had mentioned in that response that, when Christians or Muslims or anybody have this incredibly high, oh my God, uplifted feeling, and I've had that feeling myself in a variety of places. I don't know that I ever had it in a worship situation. That was a long time ago as a child, but I have had that in other places where you know what that uplifted feeling is. And you also realize that happens elsewhere. And when you're not connected to committing to it being something that you need it to be. For example, if I was saying, you know what, that is the Holy Ghost, period. It can be nothing else. I was told that's what it is. I feel it. I sense it. That's the Holy Ghost. You have now shut off everybody else's experience as being real if they're not experiencing the Holy Ghost. And you can go talk to a Muslim and they could tell you the same thing, only say it's Allah and all that trilogy stuff. That's not a monotheism even. Father, Son, Holy Ghost. Why did they not keep the monotheism in Christianity? What's the trilogy for? They are wrong. Our experience is true. You see divisions. I have somehow, I think most of my life, approached it in a very open-minded way, and I was never taught that. I think that is a part of a mental architecture. Honestly, I think that most humans' brains are designed to kind of flock, but not everybody should. The flock can head the wrong direction. There needs to be people that think outside the flock. Does that make sense? As soon as I hear somebody say, you know what, you don't want to go study that over there because those people this and those people that, I would look right at that person and say, I'm getting the hell away from you. You don't know anything. You just demonstrated to me that you're shut down and you don't know, and you're telling me to not know with you. I would always, when I heard people say that, I would be like, whew, I'm getting away from you. While you watch other people go, oh yeah, yeah. You get into a group. You're the one going, I'm going to go look for myself. You don't tell me what to think and what to believe, especially when it comes across like that. There was nothing intelligent. That was just a judgment. And you can see that. So we don't approach it that way. You look at it and go, yeah, everybody's having these experiences. My bigger point is if you step back from it, you realize that from around the world, there is some kind of a universal experience that we can have that is generally an incredibly high and uplifting experience that we can have when we are in groups that are like rejoicing, singing, helping out something, working together to do so. When we're doing good things or experiencing something in unison in larger groups, that the more we look at each other and the more we amp it up, the more that field increases and the more it experiences. And it doesn't matter whether you are worshiping or not. But the same field also, when we get together and begin functioning, maybe somebody goes to a protest. Yeah, I'm going to go join this. And next thing you know, they're years in jail going, oh my God, what the hell did I do? Same thing. We create these fields. They get bigger. We get caught up in them. We feel them. We experience them. And they are emotional. Look at them all. They're emotional fields. That's important to remember. I think that when humans evolved, that we had an emotional connection at a level that was not that was not a part of the five senses. We know we evolved to have really high connectivity with the physical world. That's where we live, and that's where danger is. However, the entire universe, long before even there was physical things, are energy. Everything is based in that energy. We are based in that energy. People say matrix. I don't like using that term because it sounds like you're just grabbing, new age sort of stuff. But there is an energy, network everywhere. There is no place that there is not energy in this universe. All open space it's just open to physical. It's full of energy of other sorts. I'm getting bombarded right now with all of my local radio stations and everything that are outside of my senses, but they're there, and they can be translated into something back into where my senses are. The cosmos works that way. We're not doing something magical. We're replicating what it's already doing. We're not violating the laws of the universe. We're working within the laws of the universe. We're generating frequency waves like it does, just very specific ones. That's it. We exist as a part of that. We're going to continue to exist that way. And in the material they're teaching that, especially with there's a higher, he said the orbits, the higher orbits, and then the lower orbits. And those are in reference to, there are things that happen naturally that we have, life cycles, annual cycles, daily cycles, lunar cycles. There's all kinds of cycles that exist that we're within, that there's no big deal. We see those cycles are there. However, we also have cycles inside that what we have decided in life creates conditions that we continued. Our entire life is a cycle. Our experiences are cycles. Our emotional experiences are in cycles. What I want to do is talk about what the potential nature of this field is, because I believe that this is what explains the supernatural, regardless of what they are attributing it to, that it is nevertheless a true emotional experience, and that they are not analyzing what it is from. They are already attributing it to something that they've been told that it is from, when in all reality, it is there. Let's just open up to, let's let go of convictions about where it comes from, and then go look at it objectively. So what we know is that we can, that everything and all this energy out there, the eyes can see certain energy, the ears can hear certain energy, we can talk, we're sending out some energy. Smell, they've said now that there's whatever it is carrying, it goes up there, it gets converted into something that ends up being a frequency that determines why it smells a certain way, and then why certain things that like almonds and something else that's poisonous have a certain, why would they smell the same? There's certain digital codes in there that are like almost identical to each other. So it's like, I think it happens at a much deeper level. I don't think that doesn't matter. What matters is our own experiential, what do we bring with us to the table? And I've mentioned before, I have like a strong experience when I was 9, when I was stopped at the door, going out the house, sneaking out to go play with my brother. It stopped me in my tracks. It was so strong in 2 words. Larry's dead. Larry was my brother. I was 9. I shook that off. I was like, what? Oh, that was crazy. And I went out and I found him in the woods, and he had hung himself. So I don't tell that story. That's not a part of what I do. A part of what I do is go, what happened? What was that? How did that happen? Because that's a supernatural experience that I can commit to saying is a real one. Other people have a lot of stories. I don't believe most people's stories, or I believe most people have mental experiences. And there's a lot of people that have wishful thinking experiences. I've had people talk to me that just go off, and you're like, oh my gosh, yeah, write a book. I think that the field is there, but I think people that think it's some mystical, magical place full of all kinds of entities and whatever, and they're going over there and crossing over, that's all in their heads. There is something there, though, but they make up and fill in a lot of supernatural things. And so many people believe in it, though. This is how charlatans can function, too. There's people that go, yeah, I have felt that before. There must be something. Yes, there is something. And when we don't know what it is, we get taken to the supernatural cleaners. All right. I think it's natural. I think that it has to do with us existing in a field, grouping together, having central nervous systems, and that we're able to radiate and receive energy at an emotional level. Not only can we talk and hear and see, we can also emit a sensation, which would be important in a group if there's danger coming. Instead of everybody having to figure it out individually, it would be good for a sensation to be able to wave through a group that's very connected, where even if they don't know what's going on, there's something that makes them go, uh-oh. It heightens their alertness. That would be an incredibly important part of us maintaining safety in a group where, a lion could come and take any one of us out like we're nothing. We can't stand up to creatures in the wild. They win. We need to be in a group. We need to be functioning together. We also need to know when there's a reason to have joy. Oh, yay, we found water. We've been, all that. So I see that the central nervous system is being an antenna of sorts for us to experience this, and that when we're together in groups and we're having a certain kind of experience, that it's causing us to feel a certain way, that we begin to, the chemicals radiate into our central nervous system. That makes our field bigger. Other people are picking up on that. We're working together, amping up, and boop, pretty soon in a cumulative area, we've got this going on. You could be a Christian in a church next door, not in that group. You're not going to feel it. You won't. Or a Muslim that's not at the mosque. Or whatever the case may be. And there are educational groupings sometimes where people are working and solving things, and we know that this experience is a common experience, but that we can attribute it to a number of things because it seems so mystical to us. Everything that we see, everything from the physical senses, that comes right into our conscious from, we can see, we know why. There's physical connection there. When it comes in through a means into our consciousness and we're aware of something that didn't come in through those senses, all of a sudden that's mystical and magical. So we attribute it to something suddenly outside of us, when actually I think there's something right inside of us that we can call it with. Mine with Larry's dead. What was that? I think that is at a moment of anguish. He's incredibly radiating out. I'm his brother. We're together all the time. He's calling out to me. Somehow, something. I'm stuck doing something else. I can't leave. I'm busy doing this, mentally focused on trying to escape, helping my little brother learn his ABCs. Something's compelling me to disobey. So, all that's happening in the background. So my mind isn't quiet. At some point in time, it happens. And I think that now, because we have communications, people tried to tell me it was something supernatural. Larry's dead. Larry, it was your brother telling you. It was his spirit on the way out. Then why didn't it say, hey, Danny, I'm gone. I'll see you later or something. Larry's dead is third person. Come on. It was an angel or a spirit, something from God trying to tell you and warn you ahead of time. Then how come all of the prayers didn't get answered that led up to this moment right here? Why now help? It's a little late for that. We've been asking for help. So you don't believe any of that stuff, but you know it happened. You know it happened. That's what you bring with you. That's what drove me to keep looking for answers and trying to find a way to explain it where it made some kind of sense. And I believe that is what people experience, that is very much in place. People do not see it. They still claim supernatural agency for it. And there is some control over it because they can, as you apply your mental process to it, you experience that. Yeah. They don't know it's them, it's us. It's us doing it in a place where we're working together. There's times where we might be, I remember times maybe in a grocery line going, gosh, I feel impatient. Then you gradually become aware of, why am I impatient? I'm in no hurry. I'm not doing anything. And you look around and you see a bunch of impatient people, and suddenly you're not impatient. There's times I realize, I think I was feeling somebody else's feeling here, but since it was coming from outside, I thought it was mine. So then I buy into it and I start feeling it as well. I'm fitting into this group impatience thing because I'm not paying attention. And I believe that happens, but we have to do that for ourselves experientially. You have to find it for yourself. It's one of those things that's not measurable. It's experiential. Anyway, And the Lahmu and Lahamu, yeah, no. So the creation stories always start with the creation of the individual. Then it goes into, throughout the story, it will include the things that teach us about cause and effect, cyclical things going on, the division of things, interruptions of the process, that if left unchecked, it continues to grow and procreate. It gets bigger and bigger through life until it ruins your life. It teaches all of that stuff in the creation myth until your life gets out of control. That's creation. Everybody goes through that right there. But that's all what's in there. There's nothing about the way that that we experience that field. However, it knows that field is there. It knows that there's a flow, that there's a glory of God, a grace of God, a Tao, a way, an experience of life, blessings, gracings, a flow. Yeah, they all teach some sort of an experience that you have in life. The Greeks would call it a change in your eudaimonia, your basic overall quality of life, from a very hurt and, oh, I feel bad every day, to, oh, yeah, I feel good every day. You've just risen the overall quality of your own life through mental experiences. Anyway, so that's what I want to say about that I think it's a good point to look at that and be that way, but they didn't stretch it that far back into all the energy stuff we know, the fact that, anywhere you see light, you know that there's photons in space. There's all kinds of things there that we just don't interact with. There's more there than there is here. What are we? We're hydrogen, carbon, oxygen, a handful of trace elements. We're not very much, but we're actually much more than that. That's where it gets. I don't know how that works. I just know what the experience is, and that we interface with it through mental processes. The times we look for the spiritual experiences, we can make that happen, but we can't manage them. We just experience them and go, yeah, it's there. If you look at it mentally and go, you know what? I'm hurt. I hate this. I've got that trapped away. I'm ashamed over that. I'm never letting that out. These are all the impediments, and we hold them in place. Once we realize that, and once we can start learning to get to the point to where, yeah, this happened, that happened. When we stop holding it ourselves, we're the ones that put up our own limitations. Then all of a sudden that experience in that field becomes more like, oh, yeah, I see. I'm managing the way in which I flow through that field by managing the way I'm holding the state of the energy of the things up here, memory and its emotional state. Through the material, every time they're, like wiping out the Ajiji or the old, whatever, the fallen angels or the whoever took over. I can't even think right now of all the ones that come down and, giants and whatever. All of these represent parts of our past. And in the end, they end up getting trapped away and losing their power, which is all parts of the story representing these horrible, horrific, really powerful parts of us are now, I've resolved them. They are no longer powerful because I still have the memory. They're there. They're put away, but they don't have power anymore because I've resolved it. I'm now okay with what happened. I've forgiven. I've let go of the energy. I've let go of the emotional state of what happened. Then we begin to manage the flow through that field. But in the meantime, the groups get together and they co-experience all the time. When they get together for worship or whatever, this is going to happen all the time, and it's going to confirm what they believed going into it. They're going to continue to prove what they believe is true because they're going to continue to have the experience that associates with what they're doing. We see that. You could go somewhere else. You could take your belief and go somewhere else and have a completely different belief and have that same experience. At some point you go, what's the same? What are we looking at here? Let's go find that experience. It's a natural experience. I don't think there's any deity out there capriciously deciding on a day-to-day basis whether to, function on this person's behalf or that person's behalf. But there's something else going on that is, right in front of us. We still see a lot of problems with it, right now. Where you can look back and still see that engine, that reproduction engine necessary at one point in time to keep things flowing. There's a certain like nursery element to a part of this emerging larger group of humanity at some point in time that still seems to be in place. Ignoring recognition of homelessness and crime and jails and, people that are just raised in places that there's not family, there isn't guidance, there isn't control, and that we're forcing, that we're not addressing things somehow. In fact, in ways, ignoring all of the accumulation of the pain, the hurt, the shame, and injecting people into lives like that and forcing people to continue to feed that machine, that reproduction machine. Don't we need to step back and look at the big picture? Okay, abortion is not the issue. That's just one point in a big emergent problem we've got going on. We need to quit acting like we need to emerge. We don't have another planet to go to. We made it. We're still acting like we have to beat out the other people. We have to win. Survival of the fittest. If we can produce and kill you, then that's the best thing for an emergent humanity. Damn it, we made it. We can continue to emerge by what pulls us, not by what pushes us. Not by what drives us, but by what we know we need to do. I don't think we're going to get there. Anyway, yeah, that was it on this video. Kind of went all over the place anyway. But I think that was worth saying. I can't talk well about, what evolution would have really been like, or society at points in time. And I don't even know if society is a good term. I don't think so. I'm looking at it in a bigger picture. I don't have any handle on the academics of it. I'm looking at some sort of a deeper drive. What are the mechanics of what makes it happen? It ultimately comes down to forever cause and effect. What made that happen? What made that happen? What made that happen? What made that happen? Where did that come from? How did it start? Until people go, you're on your own, buddy, and you know what you are. What you find out at some point is that there's a template here that frames humanity's teachings. From the creation myth in Hinduism and in Judaism, in the Babylonian creation myth, the Enuma Elish, all of the creation myths from around the world house the same thing: how we came about, how life unfolds, how divisions happen, how cyclical things emerge, but in very different ways. And some of them are held in myth and some are held in religion, but they're held in analogous terminology that fits in with the population of those people that work together. While nested inside of it is the template for the people who don't. Does that make sense? Get in that group. That is what I see now, but only after extracting everything from it and realizing what that template is. That there's a creation template that begins each one of them, and then as soon as that creation template ends, that the monomyth begins in each one of them, and the monomyths go off into a big network. I see that, and it blows my mind, but I can't show that. You have to get there to see it. You have to understand how to play how to play it out in the psyche. Yeah, how to make that transition. But here's the deal: the monomyth or the creation is basically this: I am born. At first, I have a set of characteristics with me that are out of my control, natural things that are going to be a part of me, given to me by God. My personality, my brain type, there's going to be preferences, things like that I am born with genetically. Then, as life goes on, for Genesis, the days of creation begins setting up how life works. Cause and effect. Things grow from seeds that produce fruit, more seeds that produce more fruit. It's not just telling you it created things. It's teaching us that there's a process of cause and effect right there. It's teaching us about the constellations, the cyclical nature of things. It's teaching us about the duality of things, the upper, the lower, the three parts of the being, the air, the earth, the waters below, the higher being, the conscious, the subconscious. It's it's unfolding all of those things until we become Adam and Eve. We are now self-aware. Eve is our subconscious part. That is our childhood self. That is our gleeful, happy. It remembers things. We are now aware. We've gone from an infant that doesn't know anything because we don't even have vision yet to a child running around saying, I want that candy, Grandma. That was funny. Or I'm going to get up and, go to my friend's house today. We are now a being that is experiencing a happy, joyful, unfettered life. That is our Adam and Eve self right there. What happens then is that sin begins. We begin to experience life. That falls apart. It goes downstream. I won't go into the whole thing. But if you were to look at the stories, you would see that kind of basically function that way. That, there's first a selection process, and then something happens. There's this cyclical thing going on. There's this emergence of a few patterned sort of things that you go, well, that's kind of weird. And it might not always be constellations. It might be something growing up and getting cut down. There's different ways of showing cycles, a wheel coming around, a boulder being pushed up a hill that comes back down. Anything that shows a repeated action over and over again is a cyclical action when you play it out as an analog. But then as you go through, you see that it always turns bad from that point. Your earlier self, whoever it is, the evil takes over. The good characteristics that you had to begin with get corrupted by or other parts of yourself. And the stories are just, these names and the things that are happening along the way are analogous to that process. At some point, the world is raucous. Creation ends there, but it continues on. Some people only get to that point. The world has become raucous. You need a flood. And they never have that flood. They might hold the story, but they never turn it inward and realize that's about them. It's about flooding out my earth, my world. You could pop the same story right up again in the Jericho. Joshua was chosen. They marched, 7 times around before the city fell. The city was the evil city. This evil city represents the evil part of yourself from the past. You march around it 7 times. What is 7 in this material? 7 is being used as an analog. At the end of creation, that's naked, unashamed, in the Garden of Eden. That is when we are that little kid self that hasn't experienced life and has not been hurt yet. We are emotionally good. You turn that right around into an analogous teaching. You have a city in your area named Jericho that's been sacked, burned to the ground. You write the story along the template, indicating that city, which was evil, got burnt to the ground, which is carrying the idea that this part inside of you, which was Jericho, which was the evil part, got marched around 7 times and it got destroyed. We're going back to that point in time again. The teaching's in there. Anyway, that's the template. That is what, honestly, the stories are based on that idea. Here's how your life comes about. Now, write a story on that's going to carry in the population. You emerge. Here's how it works. You begin experiencing life. It goes south. As life goes on, it gets worse and worse. It accumulates. Finally, it gets so severe that do you become Noah and become the one that's called on the first version of the monomyth in Genesis? Or do you just stop right there and carry the package of the ark and not look inside? If we find the template, we might become Noah, wash out our world and start over again, and then later find out that we're Joshua and still have to go after Jericho. This can be a repeated process, and that's just a very short glimpse of the network. It needs videos on its own. I'm still working that direction. So the material is very mystic, but it's very much there, and it's a transition that has to be made for a person to go, okay, I get it. I see it. It is mentally conceptual and made up of analogs. All the time, just getting more and more and more of them, more and more pieces. You go from, I am the cup that needs to clean myself out because it is me who not only made the outside, but also made the inside. That's a very simple transition. But to become Jason and the Argonauts and the ship and sailing off into the past, those are all component parts that are parts of who and what we are in the psyche. With Argonauts being, they're just rich story parts. What do they represent? What do each one of those people going along, what do they do that makes them unique and special? They're just bringing those qualities along on the adventure. The stories are, it's a culture that has intelligence. No schools, no books. Technology's not there yet. No one reads, no one writes. They're telling stories. Yeah, you want these big. All right. Well, that's it. Yeah. Okay. So mainly that was it. The flocking thing is there. You can see it. You can see it. You can't deny it. You know it's there. And you experience it. And Lahmu and Lahamu is actually just our infant self ready to go. But that but that as life goes on, we do function in that energy field. They knew we functioned in that energy field. They just, I'm sure they didn't know it was photons and all kinds of other energy, but they knew that we functioned in that field. They saw it. So, all right. That's it for this video. All right. Take care.